Okay, so I've got a story that's gonna sound unbelievable, but I'm really hoping this goes viral. If an attorney wants to get involved in this or media, reach out to me because this story's just gonna get crazier as it goes. Alright, first off, let me start with I'm not a content creator. I'm just a regular guy in an extraordinary situation. So, I want to start out with State versus Breed, 122 NM 655. I promise this isn't going to be boring. So, in 1996, I was like 12 years old, so I'm not a part of this case. But this case was in Alamogordo, New Mexico, where I live. Okay? So, the prosecutor's conduct was so outrageous that it required a mistrial. And then Double Jeopardy mandated that the guy couldn't be recharged or retried. And from what I know of the case, the guy was guilty. But they had to declare a mistrial because of the conduct of the prosecutor. Now, this is going to come in to be rather important later on, but let me get to the rest of the story of how I've got myself here. So, I understand there's going to be skeptics out there because you can't believe everything you see on the internet. So I'm going to try to give you as many verifiable documents and places you can research to verify my story is true. All right? So let's go to 2011. Raymond T. Van Arnhem, my ex-wife's attorney, kicked in my door on camera. And then the cops, Alamogordo police, show up and they refuse to prosecute. They refuse to investigate. So I hired an attorney, got the state police involved, and they were arrested on felony charges. It was on Good Morning America, World's Dumbest Criminals, Season 14, Episode 6. And if you want to verify this, just Google Van Arnhem, Good Morning America. Here's a little clip.
Home of her soon-to-be ex-husband. The man walking to the door is her divorce lawyer. Once the ex-husband is out of sight, the lawyer walks to the back of the house and breaks in.
Easy. Good. Come on, Melissa. Come on, sweetheart. Get in there. Come on, hurry, quick, let's do this.
Oh, what kind of firm is this? Gangster, gangster, and gangster? I've often wished for a crooked lawyer. This guy's just stupid.
I need a hug. I need to relight your shoe.
Okay, I feel like I'm missing some information, such as, is this lawyer boning this lady?
So now let's move to 2012. In 2012, Van Arnhem got some of his cop buddies to arrest me for singing on a bus. You know, Cohen versus California, one man's lyric, or one man's vulgarity is another man's lyric. Yeah. So, they pursued a malicious prosecution against me in 2012. You can look up that case. Let me see here. It's 2012-00481-CR. So, after like 560 something days, it was finally dismissed for the second time. But I had hired an attorney, Sandra Grisham. Now, here's where Breet starts to come in. You see, the prosecutor in Breet, that was Raymond T. Van Arnhem. The presiding judge was the Honorable Sandra Grisham. So, I had hired the judge as my attorney in a malicious prosecution case. What that led to is a lawsuit where the city of Alamogordo paid me a good sum of money. And I figured that would stop their malicious prosecutions of me and harassment. But it didn't.
I think some cyber try to want to settle mess against us, things like that.
So, I'm a 100% disabled veteran. We can verify this just by looking at my license plate. I'll show a picture of that So, I'm not worried about people finding out where I am because literally my address has been posted on international news. So, anyway, in 2019, I was struck in the face by a mortar. And I've had 6 brain surgeries. That's what the scar's from. And this right here is my crappy prosthetic. I had a better one, but you get what you get with the VA. But on July 7th, 2019, because of the bone shrapnel into my brain, they had to remove the frontal lobes of my brain. All right? Let's see a picture of that. All right. So, as you can see, I'm missing the frontal lobes of my brain. I guess I qualify to be a politician. But that's going to come important later when I tell you about the malicious prosecution I'm currently going through. Because of my disability, I can't really work on cars anymore because if I look down for too long, my brain shifts, I get dizzy, and it's not good. So I decided to buy the most reliable vehicle I could think of that would suit my needs, and that was a Toyota Tacoma. But just 9 days later. So on the 22nd of January 2024, I was traveling to Walmart to get a folder to put all our important documents in because me and my wife were traveling to the Philippines. My wife's from the Philippines, and we've been waiting for the paperwork that would allow her to go visit her mother and father, who aren't in the greatest of health. So I was driving down First Street, and the roads were cold and wet and slick, so I was driving at a slightly reduced speed due to the weather conditions, when all of a sudden this guy in a white Ford Explorer that was running late. Actually, don't take my word for it. Let's listen.
So, 7:40 today? They knock on the door. He has to work today, so he wasn't able to drive. In front of the light, I damn near ding his back bumper. He's already running late, and he's got to be at work at 7:45, so I was like, okay. And I'm sure I was on here. I'm much more than sure I was on here. I went ahead and creeped around him and started to pass him in the left lane. I did make sure it was clear on both oncoming on left and right.
So yeah, as you just heard there, the driver of the Ford left at 7:40, had to be across town at 7:45, so yeah, he was speeding a bit. Almost ran into the back of my bumper, and he's honking his horn, being obnoxious. Well, if you've ever had any defensive driving training, or went through one of those classes, they tell you if you have a road raging driver, fine, just drive slow. Because anything they do, the damage will be less if you're driving slow. So that's exactly what I... This idiot that's driving here got in behind me and starts honking their horn. So fine, we'll go nice and slow. We get into the Walmart parking lot here. He, in the turn, tries to come inside and hits the side of my vehicle, trying to get in front of me, in front of Margot's. But what he did is he decided he was going to pass. Now let me show you a picture of this road he passed on and see if you can notice a double yellow line. So there's a double yellow line there that is shown even in the police report. So despite the fact that the other driver passed on a double yellow line and did not yield right of way and made impact with the side of my vehicle not once but twice, because of his bias, Officer Brown of the Alamogordo Police Department decided to charge me with reckless driving. And to do so, he decided to fabricate some evidence, specifically trying to change the words I said. Let's listen to what I said, then let's listen to what he claims I said. Honking their horn. So fine, we'll go nice and slow.
Cited for reckless driving for your actions involved, which is the action that I have detailed in my narrative, okay? Which explains that when he laid on the horn, you say to us that, okay, you want to play, let's play. So you started essentially going slow.
That's not what I said.
Slow.
That's not what I said.
Slow.
That's not what I said.
Officer Brown decided to fabricate this statement in the charging document where he states driver 1 stated that since driver 2 wants to hit his horn and play stupid, he can too. Is that what I said? No. But putting it in a charging document and submitting it to the court, that's perjury. And in this state, the state of New Mexico, that's a 4th-degree felony. Now, Officer Brown's actions in this case that are reprehensible don't stop there. You see, there's a Brady rule. That comes from Brady versus Maryland, 373 U.S. 83 from 1963, which the case established that the prosecution must disclose exculpatory evidence to the defense. And then there's Gigolo versus United States, 405 U.S. 150, 1972. And United States versus Argus, 427 U.S. 97, 1976. United States versus Bagley, 473 U.S. 667, 1985. I can keep going. I really can. I've got a whole page here in front of me. But basically, if you hide exculpatory evidence, it calls for a dismissal of the case and a mistrial. And what was Breet? Yeah, if prosecutorial misconduct causes a mistrial, then you can't retry the person. But there was an exculpatory evidence. An exculpatory witness. There's also exculpatory evidence. But let's listen to the exculpatory witness.
I'm gonna get this guy because I think he's the independent on this one. Hey, you called it in, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us what happened?
To be honest, they both came turning in or whatever, and then, I don't know, it looked like some road rage to me or something, but the one was trying to pass the other one when they both got onto this road right here, and then somehow or another, the one smacked the other, the one hit the curb right here, and then they both turned in.
Okay. Who smacked what?
It looked to me like the white Explorer hit that Tacoma.
Hit the Tacoma?
Yeah. I mean, it was like a thunder thing. It ain't like they really crashed, but
okay.
But it looked like road rage to me. I mean,
yeah, was the Tacoma in front of the white Explorer when it was turning, and then the white Explorer jumped in front of it?
They were like, he was like trying to pass him or something. I don't know.
Okay. All right. What's your name, sir?
Chris.
Chris? Okay. If I got any questions, I'll come back to you, okay?
All right, no problem.
All right.
Can I get one of you to see this real quick?
See what?
Literally see right now where he hit me the second.
So yeah, I showed the officer the skid marks, which, remember I mentioned exculpatory evidence? Skid marks aren't mentioned or measured in his police report. But let's take a look at the skid marks. We can clearly see the skid marks in the right-hand lane, where the Ford driver was trying to push me into the Margot's building, and right about, let's see, there is where he pushed me into the curb. So I was in the right-hand lane. So I've tried to get the prosecutor to dismiss this malicious prosecution, pointing out that he fabricated evidence, giving her clips of his own body cam footage that shows he fabricated evidence, mainly the statement I didn't make, and pointing out the body cam footage of the exculpatory witness and the exculpatory evidence, which there's more exculpatory evidence I'll show you here in a bit. But the prosecutor refuses to dismiss the case, so fine, we'll go to trial. If I'm going to go to trial, then I'm going to need my reasonable accommodations under the Americans with Disabilities Act. You see, since I'm missing my frontal lobes, I use a recording device in my everyday life as a prosthesis for not having frontal lobes and, short-term memory and stuff like that. But the prosecutor is opposing my reasonable accommodations in court. Well, I'm not going to go into the case law, but there's extensive case law that says they must give reasonable accommodations. I'm a 100% disabled vet. SSDI has determined I'm completely disabled. My disability is not in question. However, the malicious nature of the prosecution is in question. Now, here's the problem with denying my recording device as a reasonable accommodation in court. Keep in mind, they don't want me to record this because it's a malicious prosecution. But let's say you have somebody like Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump who doesn't have any legs, and you tell him that he has to travel 2 blocks in 20 minutes. Well, that wouldn't be much of a problem. He has this wheelchair and he can wheel himself the 2 blocks in 20 minutes. But what happens if you remove his wheelchair? Well, that might not be as possible if you remove his reasonable accommodation. For me in trial, I'm going to need that recording device so I can remember what people said on the stand and cross-examine. So you remove my reasonable accommodation, and all of a sudden I become incompetent to stand trial, which means it has to be moved to the district court, which violates my right to a speedy trial. And in district court, they're either going to have to find that I'm incompetent to stand trial or restore my competency, which, oh yeah, give me back my recorder. So that is yet another instance of prosecutorial misconduct. And the prosecutor's name is Ashley Smith. I'll say it again, Ashley Smith of the Alamogordo City Prosecuting Attorney's Office. Ashley Smith. Now, the officer and prosecutor trying to claim that I sped up and I hit the Ford, even though, the skid marks show I was clearly in my lane. But here's the thing. Just look at the damage to my truck. Okay? Now, here's the brush guard on my truck. See how close it is to the bumper? This is in undamaged condition. However, they hit me and pulled it forward quite a distance. Had I angled my truck into them, it would have been pushed into the bumper, not pulled away from it. The other bit of exculpatory evidence that they didn't want to record was the actual damage to the brush guard. You see how the paint is on the side here? Well, let's get this piece of clay here representing the Ford and this block of wood representing my truck. Had I angled into the Ford, the paint would have been on the front of the brush guard. But when we move it the other direction and we have the Ford angling into my truck, it's on the side, much like the physical evidence shows. So this is yet more exculpatory evidence that wasn't recorded by the officer simply because it kind of runs contradictory to his false narrative. And there's one more thing that I'm going to cover, though there's plenty of stuff I could bring up. But listen to this.
So we got into a little fender bender, well, more than a fender bender right there. This is my vehicle. I don't have insurance. I'll just go ahead and say that now. I do have the registration in there. I just don't have insurance to cover anything.
Given the content of this video, guess what I'm gonna say next? Yeah, the officer refused to cite them for not having insurance. Regardless what the law says, that if you're in a vehicle collision and you don't have insurance, the officer's supposed to take or destroy your license plate. But yeah, this officer didn't want to do that. So yeah, definitely showing more malicious action towards me, not citing the other driver for their infractions. The officer's conduct got even more absurd. When they handed me the citation, I'm like, why am I being cited? What reason can you articulate for your action in citing me? Because they couldn't articulate a reason. So, instead of me giving a summary, just listen to what he said.
Charging me with something.
Correct. You're being charged. You're not guilty of it. You're just being charged. It's a traffic offense.
Yeah, you're charging me with something, but you can't articulate what I did that was actually unsafe. You said driving slow.
When it comes time to articulate, that's when we go to trial.
What? The time to be able to articulate probable cause is when you go to trial? By that logic, you get to arrest somebody and then go to trial and fabricate the reasons why you arrested them. That's not how the Fourth Amendment works, or Article 2, Section 10 of our state constitution. There must be reasonable, articulatable, probable cause for arrest. And he was threatening to arrest me unless I signed the document for the citation that didn't have any articulatable probable cause. So what he wants to do now is he wants to go to trial and be able to articulate that probable cause when he has the help of a prosecuting attorney. That's not how the law works. So why did I make this video? Well, it's because I'm hoping that you, the viewer, will help me out and let the city of Alamogordo know that everybody's watching, because it's going to be much easier for them to push this under the rug if nobody's looking, nobody cares. You see, I'm just a disabled veteran trying to do the best I can in this extraordinary, absurd situation. But I do know I'm limited. So if you can get this message out to others, make it go viral, news media, or you know an attorney who would love to help a disabled vet with a malicious prosecution case, I'm accepting any help I can get. Thank you.